I grew up, like probably all other, equestrians and people, in believing that the horses came to Turtle Island or North America with colonization. And I think that's a really common belief. And, for a long time, our elders have said through our oral history that the horses were here, the ponies were here. And so an important discovery and path with these Ojibwe Spirit Horses has been collecting those oral traditions and histories of the elders and, the generations that had the connection with the ponies. But it's now been backed up by, they have separate DNA, so they are genetically distinct from the horses that came with the Spanish. It just really supports our elders' teachings that the ponies were here and living, in partnership with our communities for many years before the settlers came.
Very curious ponies, aren't you? Hey, you're very curious ponies. Yeah.
So we are here today at Madahòkì Farm, which is an Anishinaabe word which means to share the land. While we've been in Indigenous tourism for almost 25 years, we were really struggling to find a place where we could have more land-based learning and experiences, and we came across this farm, and so we opened in 2021. Farm might seem an unusual venue for an Indigenous tourism experience. We had come across the Ojibwe Spirit Horses, and we really knew they were part of the story we wanted to share and kind of how it mirrored our story, our community's story, in terms of being taken from the lands and the resilience of still being here and that connection. Madahòkì Farm, it's really allowed us to, create these interactive experiences, share our Indigenous cultures, support that path to reconciliation. We create employment, self-employment, small business opportunities through a vast array of activities. So we have a lodge where we can welcome groups for year-round experiences.
Drums, it's pretty universal across North America, but there are many different types of drums. My name is Awema Tendesi, and I'm a cultural ambassador here at Madahòkì Farm. I really do a lot of facilitating. I'm the one who greets you at the door, and brings you through all your programming for that day. I've been singing since I was a little guy. It's one of those things where, again, it's a responsibility. I was taught that, these drums are tools, that they're not toys, and that you have a responsibility to your community. It's my responsibility to sing the proper songs at the proper time. So I have to learn many songs, and I have to learn songs for specific times. So when I sing for you, if I'm gonna sing for you, it's gonna be a welcoming song. It's going to be to welcome you, to our land here today, to, get our day started in a good way. Whatever drum beat we're doing, again, many different nations have different beats, but they all have this sort of 1-2 beat. And what that's representing is the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And it's a sound that's very soothing to all of us because it was our first sound that we've heard. It was our mother's heartbeat. So whenever we make songs, it's with that beat. What we kind of offer here is a lot of different workshops. Our basic programming is our intro to Indigenous culture, kind of giving people a big picture look at to what Indigenous culture is. And then they kind of have a lot of add-ons that they can do onto it, a lot of different art workshops, dance workshops, music workshops, again, all to kind of give you that big picture look at to what Indigenous culture is. We really tried to get that across, where we're talking about how our people lived cyclical lives, where we would move with nature and have that connection with the land.
You're a good boy.
When I first heard of the Ojibwe Spirit Horses during the pandemic, I think I was so blown away because, being an Ojibwe person myself, I'm from Curve Lake First Nation, as are my daughters, members of Curve Lake, and we've been very involved in the equestrian world for, many years now. I called straight home to my auntie and I was like, what is this about Ojibwe Spirit Horses? And I think if I was in those two worlds and I had not heard of them, to me it was such a big part of our story and our history that Canadians and our own community, who have lost touch over all of these years of colonization, lost touch with the horses and what they meant to us, how they were, sacred beings and partners and lived in harmony with our communities, and that we had all lost touch, of those stories and those teachings. And so they really give a good opportunity to share those stories with the public, but also to allow our community to rebuild those connections and get to have that connection with the spirit horses. So this here is Cedar Gijik. She was the first foal we ever had born here at Madahòkì Farm. And she's actually a really great example of some of our Ojibwe horse breed markers. And she's got the really fuzzy ears you can see here. So it helps this time of year with the bugs and in our Canadian winters. She's got a beautiful dun color, is the color of her coat. She's got kind of the tri-colored mane, and she has the dorsal stripe going down her back as well. She's got some really great tiger striping, the horse striping on her legs. She is a perfect example of our Ojibwe Spirit Horse breed. The last four were actually near Lac La Croix First Nation in Ontario. There's a beautiful story about, there was a number of men who were really concerned that we were almost losing this breed, and they knew the history of them. So there was Fred Isham, who was an Indigenous man, had gotten together some Indigenous and non-Indigenous partners and said, we have to save these last four. They captured them, rescued them, and actually took them across the ice into the northern US. And I think at the time everybody believed they were, Mustangs or related to the Mustangs, and it was through the DNA they realized this was a distinct breed. And so they've slowly started making their way back into Canada, although they are found in the northern US as well. And slowly, through really dedicated efforts of the Ojibwe Horse Society, been rebuilding this breed, and they are still rare and endangered. There's less than 200, so they are far off from being off the endangered list. We had lost the last stallion to the breed, was shot accidentally, believing it was a moose in the forest. So when these last four horses were rounded up and taken over the ice, the heist across the ice they call it, when they were taken over to northern US, they realized these were the very last horses. There was no stallions left to continue the breed. And so the decision was made to breed the mares with a Mustang, with Smoky Mustang, who shared a lot of the same breed characteristics. So through the generations, it has gotten, closer to full-blooded, but they were bred with a Mustang.
And he's got beautiful mixed mane, and he's got the startings here of all of the striping on the legs.
I do think a lot of these reconciliation efforts put a lot of onus on the community to be the ones teaching and sharing and changing perspectives. And I think it's important to recognize that, not every single Indigenous person has that knowledge and teachings. They've grown up often in an urban area, disconnected from their elders and culture. And so I think that's challenging. And, and I think it's a little challenging to expect our communities that are in various stages of healing through that process to be the ones sharing that message too. Which is why I think, again, Indigenous tourism, I think, is that, that balance. We ensure that all of our cultural ambassadors, they're knowledgeable, they've gotten teachings from the elders and the community, and they're sharing something that's appropriate, something their community supports in them sharing, that they have the background and knowledge to do so. And I think it's important for that financial or economic reconciliation, because it's not just putting the community in the position of having to be the teachers, but it's giving them employment and opportunities to do it, for an income and not at their own burden. So I think that tourism creates that space, and brings the right resources to the people that have the knowledge and teachings to be able to share.
We get that question a lot. What can I do? How can I learn How can I learn about Indigenous people? How can I learn about the culture? And we're in very much of a time right now where it's this kind of gray area, right? We're in a time of truth and reconciliation where, Canadians are trying to learn about Indigenous people. They're trying to learn about Indigenous issues, and they're trying to do it in a safe way. That's a big part of what this place is all about here, is we're trying to create that safe space, for regular Canadians to come here, to come and learn about Indigenous people without feeling, shunned or, whatever feelings that they kind of get over that. But my advice whenever I speak to people about learning about the culture is to go to those communities. Wherever you are in Canada, it doesn't matter which city, which town you're in, within 2-3 hours, there is an Indigenous community near you. I always say go to powwows, go to these celebrations that are, open to the public, and go there with an open mind, go there to learn, listen, talk. Don't be afraid to speak with the elders, speak with the dancers, the singers, ask questions. Always ask questions.